Windows Recall is rolling out to regular mainstream users, and at least one privacy-focused application has been fighting back against what they call no other option when it comes to Windows recording your screenshots. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. If you like this type of content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Leave us a like and a comment down below. And today we do want to talk about the situation where a privacy-focused messaging app, Signal, has seen no other option with Windows Recall, so it enabled the same type of DRM protections that streaming companies use to prevent screenshots from being taken of its application. That is right, folks. So Signal, what is Signal, of course, if you are unaware? Of course, the audience of my channel probably is aware, so we'll keep this one brief. This is, of course, an encrypted messaging platform. You can use it. Typically, it has been tied to a phone number. They have username functionality now, and you can get a desktop application to manage your Signal chats once it is set up on your phone. So it does allow you to do fully end-to-end encrypted zero-knowledge messaging. So that means that it is a platform that if you are interested in good, secure communication, that would be a decent platform to use. Now, the problem, of course, with Windows Recall, as we have mentioned, is that Recall itself, as an application, it takes a screenshot of roughly every 5 to 7 seconds of your desktop, uses OCR to create a real language system, allowing you to search for all of your history of your computer going back to 3 to 6 months, depending on the size of your hard drive and how you have it configured. The problem is Signal says, hey, if somebody's using our app, we probably, if we are trying to be a private chat service, we probably do not want our messages showing up. Now, first and foremost, Recall did have a lot of initial security blunders. Most of them have been solved, including the fact that it should, in theory right now, only take a screenshot of the active window. So if you have Signal behind a window and you're actively on a web browser and a screenshot is taken, last I heard, Recall will only take a picture of the web browser, not the background applications. But I'm not totally sure about that. So here from TechPublica, Mandolin Clark reports that Signal blocks Windows 11 Recall and Microsoft has simply given us no other option. Now, of course, a number of tech journalists have covered this. So we're actually going to be looking at what Signal had to say, but I just wanted to briefly go over a couple things in this particular article. First, Signal Messengers rolled out a new security feature in Windows desktop application to shield users' messages from Recall. So that your messages do not get caught up in Recall. They are enabling it by default only on the Windows application. Users can opt to disable the feature if they want to. So you might want to, because you can't screenshot messages for yourself if you're trying to archive them for whatever else. If you're a journalist receiving confidential messages and you're trying to clip parts of it out to save screenshots, there's a legitimate reason to do that. Then this feature will prevent you from even doing that. You'd have to turn it off in those circumstances. But so that people's messages are not automatically getting collected, this is enabled. And they're using it with the same DRM approach that streaming services use. So Signal's workarounds for Recall. Signal did raise concerns about the lack of developer-level controls in Windows 11, noting that privacy-focused apps are left with no standard way to opt out. And I think that Microsoft probably left all that out, because if they have tools out there that will simply make a developer able to opt out, then everybody's going to opt themselves out because nobody's asking for Recall. I mean, literally, like, you cannot make an argument for this thing other than some spy agency wants to steal your crap. I mean, really. So it also causes usability issues like impairing the functions of accessing software or archiving the messages if they prefer to document them. So they said they are enabling an extra layer of protection by default on Windows 11 in order to maintain a security of Signal Desktop on the platform. Even though it introduces some usability trade-offs, Microsoft has simply given us no other option. So, security researcher Kevin Beaumont, who performed a security research analysis of the reintroduced version of Recall, found that the tool still captures sensitive information and that its database can be decrypted using standard Windows authentication like a PIN or fingerprint or scan. Of course, that's one of the features that they put into it in the latest recent iterations. You have to tie it to Windows Hello, tying it to the passkeys, the TPM, and the biometrics or PIN. Now, of course, Microsoft's response, or lack thereof, at the time of the writing, Microsoft has not publicly responded to inquiries about whether it plans to offer developers a formal API or mechanism to exclude their applications from Recall. And all of the articles I looked at, none of them had mentioned anything from Windows at all. So we want to look at Signal's actual blog. It covers the details about how they're actually pulling this off. So it now contains a new feature called Screen Security. They did make it easy enough to access that you can quickly turn it on or off, but they did not make it so easy you might accidentally turn it off. So Signal Desktop now includes support for screen security settings that is designed to help prevent your own computer from capturing screenshots of your Signal chats on Windows. Setting is automatically enabled by default on Signal Desktop on Windows 11. So they say after an intense security backlash and significant outcry, Microsoft pulled Recall initially. Initially, this was opt out. It was storing everything in plain text. I mean, it was an abominable security nightmare. And the scariest thing about this is they wanted to roll this out before even going through the developer preview channels, which usually identifies a lot of the bugs. They were so excited about this, they wanted to push it out on everybody before anybody had a chance to look at it. Fortunately, people were able to get it to work on systems before the official public rollout, which bypassed the developer chains. This is insane. So, fade to black. Y'all that like Metallica, right? Now, if you attempt to take a screenshot of Signal Desktop when the screen security is enabled, nothing will appear. It will look familiar if you've ever had the audacity to try and screenshot a movie or TV show on Windows. So what they're doing is they are using a digital rights management flag on the application window to ensure that content will not show up in Recall or any other screenshot application. So that is what Signal is forcing itself to do, implanting DRM. Not good, folks, not good. Because, of course, there is a concern, is DRM open or closed source code? That raises another question. Apps like Signal have essentially no control over what Recall is able to capture. Implementing DRM that works for you, not against you, is the best choice that they had. So Microsoft launched Recall without granular settings for app developers that would enable Signal to easily protect privacy, which is a glaring omission that limits our choices. They say some accessibility software, for example, such as screen readers or magnification tools for people who are visually impaired, may not function correctly. This is one of the downsides of what they're doing. So this is in Signal settings, privacy, and screen setting. And every time you go to toggle it, it will give you another pop-up warning reminding you that Windows is able to capture screenshots of Signal if you disable it. So you can cancel it or you can disable it. This is stored locally. This is not tied to anything on an account. So if you're communicating with somebody who uses a screen reader on Mac or Linux, then keeping the screen enabled on your side will not prevent them from taking screenshots or adversely affect any accessibility software that they may be using. Apps like Signal should not have to implement one weird trick in order to maintain privacy and integrity of their services without proper developer tools. That is certainly true. Of course, to their point, if Windows created these developer tools, everybody would put them in so their applications would not be recorded by Recall, because who wants this, really? Integration of AI agents with pervasive permissions is a questionable security hygiene. And insatiable hunger for data has the potential to break the blood-brain barrier between applications and operating systems. Now, why do I highlight that? It's moving in, the Signal blog post moves in and talks about kind of the future of where AI is going. Now, what they're talking about here is AI agents, which is not the same thing. The AI agents is not the same thing as the the type of AI that is used for recall. Remember, agentic AI is an AI that is designed to help you do various tasks. You assign the agentic AI to search the web for a particular product you are looking for. LLMs, of course, these are just a mosaic plagiarism. They just scrape a bunch of stuff on the internet and combine them together to give you an answer it might think you want. It's a very narcissistic thing. And then, of course, there's recall. It's sort of like a large language type. It allows a searchable database based on the things that it sees that you're doing. And so what we see here is as more systems are pushing AI inside of their platforms, then what we actually are going to start seeing is this question about how much data can the AI trace off of our computers? That's where they talk about the blood-brain barrier between the applications and the operating systems. See, the operating system should be a standalone thing. The application should be running on top of that, and there shouldn't be a lot of cross in between them. But with Windows Recall, it is taking everything you're doing on the application level, and it is feeding it into the operating system level. And that is a fundamental problem that they are talking about here. And so it raises a question as more companies are pushing agentic AI on us in whatever means they are. How private is our data from AI systems, which are going to start by helping us solve problems, but will eventually end towards pushing us towards products, as even Google has started putting ads into Gemini. And so go back once again and look at the selfish ledger. Remember that we were reaching the peak time of this. The Selfish Ledger was a video thought experiment that Google had that they leaked out of their company, and it was I forget exactly which company broke it. It might have been Ars Technica, but this video basically showed a few different stages. The first of these is effectively getting people so used to utilizing free products and services that, or at least so cheaply, and we wanted to use them, that we would just willingly give up all of our data to use these things. The second was it would then seek to find the data points it is missing by suggesting to us services that would help provide information. And one classic example I saw is, suppose it doesn't know how much you weigh. So now the whole system is going to start pushing you towards things like smart scales, which will tie your weight into some digital platform. And then the third phase is when they actually, utilizing all the things it knows about you, it starts pushing you in the direction it wants by pushing various products, various services, or even worse, various thought ideas on you incessantly until you're effectively brainwashed. That sounds insane, but that's literally what the point of the video was. But we were somewhere in between points 1 and 2. We didn't even see how point 3 could happen, and this is exactly it. It's agentic AI being pushed into it. So getting back, though, to what's going on here, Signal is kind of talking about this concern with collecting all of this data and feeding it into these AI systems. So what they're saying here is operating systems and vendors, especially those who are shipping AI agents, need to ensure that developers of apps like Signal always have the necessary tools and options at their disposal to reject granting OS-level AI systems access to sensitive information within their apps. But that's not what Microsoft wants. It's ultimately up to companies like Microsoft to ensure that their platforms remain a suitable foundation for privacy-preserving applications like Signal. If that ever stops being the case, we'll have to stop supporting those platforms. I think Signal, y'all should just get off of Windows anyway. So messaging apps are the window into your life. They are where we share our favorite memories, fall in love, complain, smile, cry, express who we really are. Given this reality, private messaging apps like Signal deserve to be treated with at least the same level of caution that is afforded to a web browser's private or incognito browsing window, which Microsoft has already excluded. So if you are on Edge and you use the incognito browsing window on Edge, it will not record that, but it will record what's on the regular one. So they are prioritizing privacy on some of their own applications while ignoring privacy on other things like Signal. Now, there is some more to be said about this blood-brain barrier thing. And so Meredith Whittaker is specifically in this talk calling out agentic AI as having a profound security and privacy issues. And this is really where they are getting at and why this starts about recall. But remember, recall is capturing everything that you're doing to help you find it later. But agentic AI wants to capture everything that you are doing in the hopes of being able to help you in your future tasks. So instead of you painstakingly searching Amazon for toothpaste, it will take care of that for you. Of course, how long before people will start injecting ads into that and you'll fall into the trap and you'll get some no-name toothpaste you've never heard of or don't even want because it was promoted to the agentic AI that you have sent out to find toothpaste. I wanted Tom's of Maine, not Joe's of San Francisco. I mean, what's going on, you know? So in a speech at South by Southwest, she refers to the use of AI agents as putting your brain in a jar and cautioned that this new paradigm of computing where AI performs tasks on the user's behalf has a profound issue with both privacy and security. Now I'm going to stop right here because a lot of things I mentioned here, I just watched a video yesterday from TruthStream Media, and it is, I completely forget the name of it. You're familiar with these guys. While they sound like crazy conspiracy theorists, they actually base all of their videos on actual research articles in the literature, and they do a lot of FOIA requests to actually see some of the things going on behind the scenes in governments. It's very interesting. In this particular video, The Eliza Effect 2, The Electric Idiocracy Zombie Apocalypse Boogaloo, is an excellent title for a video, and it is an excellent video about the downstream consequences of AI using specifically these agentic AIs and other forms of AI models to do tasks for us, getting back exactly what Whitaker says here about putting our brain in a jar. So AI agents would be able to take on the tasks like looking up concerts, booking tickets, scheduling events in your calendar, and messaging your friends. So we can just put our brain in a jar because the thing is doing what we don't and we don't have to touch it, right? She says. So the problem here is that when you're allowing these agentic agents to access your web browser in a way to drive it, as well as access our credit card information to pay for tickets, our calendars, our messaging apps, and the text to send your friends, it would need to be able to drive that process across our entire system with something that looks like root permissions, accessing every one of those databases. They know your interests, they know your messages, they know your purchase history, and they know your financial data. And the problem is, as Whitaker says here, probably this is happening in the clear because there's no model to encrypt this level of data sharing. So while your Windows disk may be forced to be encrypted, and of course the decryption keys are stored on your Microsoft cloud for a 3-letter agency to have when they no-knock warrant you at 4 in the morning for thought crimes. Yeah, someone in the UK was just thrown in prison for a tweet. Again, we should say again. But the challenge we have here is that while all these disk systems are encrypted, once you decrypt it, everything's all tied together anyway. There's no cross communication. There's no more zero knowledge. Everything has total knowledge of everything. And it all starts with Windows Recall taking pictures of everything that you're doing, is what she argues here. I don't think I want to read through the whole rest of this, but the challenge here is that too many organizations or too many applications out here which are privacy focused. Too many of these things are going to want to be out of this, and Microsoft has provided no clear way around. So on Windows Forum, I was looking around to see if I could find any other applications that are doing something similar to it, and I was not actually able to find anything, but there's a lot of musing and speculation that is proposed in the Windows Forum. So this is a title here: Microsoft Recall on Windows 11, Privacy Concerns, Signals Countermeasure, and Future Implications, over on Windows Forum, if you want to look up this article. So Recall aims to solve what Microsoft calls the forgotten file problem, the inability of users to quickly find web pages, documents, or images they worked on previously. Not sure who asked for it, but okay. So perhaps nowhere did the skepticism crystallize so bluntly as in June 2024, when assessment by the cybersecurity mainstay Kaspersky, which does not described recall as a potentially dangerous because even as opt-in local-only feature, recall represents a vast and easily exploited surface area for attackers, insiders, or even law enforcement agents to mine. So there's a very, very clear searchable history of everything on your system. And, your decryption keys are hanging out in Microsoft's cloud. How wonderful. So on May 22nd, 2025, Signal announced the rollout of the security screen option. We've already described this. They're utilizing a DRM technique to prevent the screenshots of Signal to be stored by recall, probably until Microsoft finds a way around that. Come on, it's only our apps that you can't stop. But that's what they're doing. So the question is who else is going to be doing that? Industry analysts and privacy groups agree that Signal likely will not remain alone on this front. ProtonMail, Telegram, and other certain enterprise-grade document management platforms are considering similar anti-screenshot countermeasures. So if you're on ProtonMail and you're utilizing either Thunderbird on a client or you're doing it through the web app, how do you guarantee your emails are not going to be captured inside of that? This is a legitimate question to ask. So they are considering similar anti-screenshot countermeasures, whether motivated by compliance, such as HIPAA or GDPR. You don't want recall taking pictures of your digital diary of the weird stuff going on in your body. There's espionage concerns or simply trust. Software vendors have a strong incentive to keep private data off of any third-party memory, AI augmented or otherwise. So there's a big concern with this type of stuff. It basically is like, hey, we are effectively a keylogger, not just for what you're typing, but everything you're doing on your computer. Show us all of your data. So privacy apps versus desktop capture tools. This is going to be the sort of arms race we're going to see next. They're going to take these things. Windows is going to do countermeasures to make sure that all of your private messages are inside of their system. And it's just going to become a giant arms race. So user's dilemma, disabling or living with recall. For regular users less invested in the technical cat and mouse game, the immediate question is simple. Should recall be enabled or disabled? So fortunately for now, per computer security best practices, recall is off by default and only available on Windows 11, and I will mention only on Windows 11 Copilot Plus PCs with an NPU. So it's right now is still a low surface area. The problem is how many things start as opt-in, and the challenge is what happens when they want to shift out of time. So beyond the headlines, is it dangerous for everyone? Even the best cryptography, local only promise, or delete anytime assurance runs against the specter of human error and malware. You can accidentally include something, you can forget to delete something, or malware can get in and just take it. Microsoft has horrible security. They've always had horrible. It's so bad. It is so bad that they started tying their executives' bonuses to security blunders. And even then, the remote desktop protocols, as we talked about last week, the remote desktop protocols still allow you to log in with an old revoked password. And Microsoft has no interest in changing that, citing, well, we just don't want people to get locked out. Yeah, I believe it or not, I want to lock the hackers out who have stolen my password. Believe it or not, I want to lock them out. This is like the peak Wall-E culture. We can't get off of our little motorized scooters to waddle ourselves over to the remote, to the physical computer and go, I'm back in now. It's getting that bad, folks. And so there is always concerns, and sure, this might be secure for now. I'll probably give it, let's conservatively say 3 to 6 months before we see that some hacker has already busted into your recall data. So there you go. So the conclusion of the trust of Crossroads and convenience, the saga of Microsoft recall and Signal's black screen defense is more than a footnote in the annals of operating system development. It's a battle line in an era where privacy and AI-powered memory are at odds. For every user who gains an hour a week thanks to the seamless recall, another faces nagging anxiety about whether their private lives are being quietly indexed, exposed, perhaps by nothing more than a momentary malware infection or a compromised administration account. That's very interesting. Of course, I want to end this Ars Technica article is all just telling us the same thing, but this guy here had the wonderful point of advice here. New OPSEC guidelines: never communicate confidential information with anyone who might be using Windows 11. Amen, brother. Now, of course, I recommend people switch to Linux. And of course, I generally recommend Linux Mint for most users. I'm not saying everybody has to use Linux Mint all the time forever. No, I just recommend Linux Mint because it's super easy, super simple. It installs on about everything. And their guides are helpful. Their community is very friendly. They provide ways inside of the operating system to get a hold of the support forums on Matrix. You can get the help that you need. It's very easy to use, and most tasks that you have built in do not require a terminal. Now, you get your feet wet a little bit here with Linux, and you want to experiment around and see if there's something in Arch for you, or you want to jump to Ubuntu or Zorin, or hey, maybe even the new Anduin OS everyone's been talking about. Then have a chance to play around. But I just recommend you start on Linux Mint. It's just nice, clean, simple, and easy to go. And you can come down here. You can download it. They have 3 different editions. For most people, I just grab the Cinnamon edition. Click on this green installation instructions here, and it will walk you through all the various steps. You have a QR code if you want to get in and view the instructions on your phone while you're walking through it. They'll walk you through how to give it an install. Now, if you still like, okay, I'm on Linux Mint now, I really miss recall feature now on Linux Mint. Don't worry, guys. You can install Open Recall. Come on, Open Recall allows you to do the same things that Windows Recall does. It does not actually require the NPU that I know of. And you can go ahead and do all that kind of stuff, and it's all pure open source platform. So you can do that. But the difference is here, it's not hoisted upon you. It's not running around in your operating system waiting for some update to accidentally turn it on. No, you have to manually install this stuff. And there are legitimate reasons someone might want to run something like Recall. I mean, think of all of those new bosses that you have at your jobs that want to make sure that everything that you're doing is constantly recorded so they can go in with the admin account and preview everything that you've been doing to make sure, you know, you weren't looking up cat food on chewy.com or something to make sure that, you're just getting your work done 100%, totally 100% on the job every single time because, see, there's legitimate reasons for this. I mean, I don't know if that's legitimate, but you could always just toggle that thing on so that you as a crazy abusive spouse could spy on your, that's a bad use too. There's not a lot of legitimate uses for this, folks. I'm telling you, I don't know. But if you want it, you can get it on Windows or on Linux here with Open Recall. There you go. So there is my thoughts. Let me know, of course, your thoughts about this. Which is going to be the next app to do the same thing that Signal is going to be doing? Is Microsoft going to erase this? How long do you think it's going to take for malware to get in and steal all of your recall data and upload it to a cloud? Let me know your thoughts about all of those things in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. And I'm going to leave this video here. Have a look at my comprehensive review of Linux Mint. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.